My brother got married while I was in surgery after a devastating injury, and my family blamed me for ruining his wedding. Now they're angry because my relatives found out the truth, and no one is speaking to them. A couple of years ago, I was involved in a devastating accident that has forever changed the course of my life, and by extension, my relationship with my family. It was a freak incident, one of those things you never think will happen to you until it does. I fell off scaffolding while working at a part-time job that I had taken to pay off my student loans. I ended up breaking my spine, my leg in 3 places, and a couple of ribs. It was bad, really bad. I went through multiple surgeries and a long, painful recovery process. But what hurt me the most wasn't the physical pain, it was the emotional pain I endured from my family. You see, my accident happened 2 days before my brother's wedding, a wedding, by the way, I'd planned to be the best man for. My parents had always adored my older brother, Mike. He was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. And honestly, I didn't have any issues with that growing up. I was used to being the one in the background, the one who had to make way for his success. But when the accident happened, I guess I expected more from my family than what I got. The accident occurred while I was on the job, trying to help out with last-minute wedding expenses. I had taken a temporary gig at a construction site. Nothing too dangerous, I thought, just a few weeks to make extra cash. But during one of the shifts, the scaffolding collapsed, and I plummeted several stories to the ground. I was rushed into emergency surgery, and things were touch and go for a while. Here's the part that gets me. My parents knew about the accident almost immediately. They were called by the hospital while I was being prepped for surgery. And what did they do? They stayed at the wedding rehearsal. My mom literally told the doctor they couldn't come because it was 2 days before my brother's wedding and they had too much to take care of. At the time, I was slipping in and out of consciousness, so I didn't know what was happening. It wasn't until later that my best friend, who had been called by the hospital, told me that my parents and brother had basically chosen not to come to the hospital at all. I spent the first few days after the surgery completely alone, aside from my friends, who stayed by my side as much as they could. I was in an insane amount of pain, both physically and emotionally, because I couldn't understand why my family wouldn't even bother to show up, even just to check on me. When I was finally lucid enough to make phone calls, I tried to reach out to my parents. They didn't answer. I left messages. I texted. Nothing. I didn't want to ruin my brother's big day. I knew how much his wedding meant to him, and I wasn't asking them to drop everything and be by my side 24/7. I just wanted some acknowledgement, some sign that they cared. But instead, they made it clear that the wedding was more important than my well-being. Fast forward to the wedding day. I was still in the hospital, recovering from surgery, when I got a voicemail from my mom. She basically said, "Hey, sorry we can't come to the hospital. Mike's wedding is today, and we can't be in 2 places at once. Hope you're doing okay. We'll check on you in a few days." That was it. My brother never called. My dad never reached out. They all went on with their lives like nothing had happened. The worst part? I found out later that my brother knew about the accident the whole time and had told my parents that he didn't want any drama on his wedding day. Drama, that's what my life-threatening injury was to them. Drama. I spent weeks in the hospital. I had to relearn how to walk. The physical therapy was grueling, and every day, I felt more and more abandoned. My friends were the only ones who showed up for me day in and day out, bringing me food, keeping me company, and helping me navigate the difficult recovery. But my family, they didn't come until weeks later, after all the wedding festivities had died down. And even then, when they finally did show up, they didn't come to see how I was doing. They came to tell me how I had ruined the happiest day of my brother's life. That's right, they blamed me. They actually blamed me for having an accident that they said overshadowed Mike's wedding. Apparently, when some of our extended family heard about my accident, they were upset that my parents had chosen not to be with me in the hospital. And, of course, my parents turned it around and made it seem like I had orchestrated the entire thing to draw attention away from Mike's big day. It was unbelievable. I was lying in a hospital bed, barely able to move, and they had the audacity to tell me that I had ruined his wedding. After that, I didn't speak to them for months. I couldn't handle the way they treated me, like my existence was a burden. I focused on my recovery with the help of my friends, who were incredible throughout the entire process. My best friend's parents even offered to let me stay with them during my rehabilitation, which I did. They became my support system when my own family refused to be. Now, here's where it gets interesting. For the past couple of years, I've been keeping my distance from my family. I didn't tell anyone outside of my close circle what happened because I didn't want to cause more drama. But about 2 months ago, one of my cousins reached out to me, asking why I hadn't been at any family events for the past couple of years. She seemed genuinely concerned, so I decided to tell her the truth. She was shocked. She had no idea about my accident, how bad it was, or how my family had reacted. Apparently, my parents and brother had told everyone that I had been too busy with work to come to the wedding and that I had gone off the grid after that, ignoring all their attempts to reach out. It was insane. They had rewritten history to make it look like I was the one who had abandoned them, not the other way around. My cousin was livid, and she ended up telling a few more relatives. Word spread like wildfire, and soon the entire family knew the truth. People started reaching out to me, apologizing for not knowing what had really happened and for believing the lies my parents and brother had told them. It was validating, but at the same time, it reopened old wounds. Now my parents are furious. They're mad at me for turning the family against them and ruining Mike's reputation. Apparently, since the truth came out, a lot of our relatives have been avoiding my parents and brother, and no one wants to attend family gatherings anymore. Update: now they're angry because my relatives found out the truth, and no one is speaking to them. The last straw was when my parents hosted a small family gathering last weekend, and almost no one showed up. They're blaming me for destroying the family, even though all I did was tell the truth to one cousin. She was the one who told everyone else. To make matters worse, Mike's wife is pregnant, and they're planning a baby shower in a couple of weeks. My parents are terrified that no one will show up for that either, and they've been calling and texting me nonstop, demanding that I fix the situation. They want me to tell everyone that it was all a misunderstanding and that I'm sorry for causing all this drama. There's that word again. I've ignored most of their calls, but a couple of days ago, they showed up at my door. They begged me to fix what I had done because Mike's baby shower was at risk of being a total flop, and they didn't want to embarrass the family any further. I was so angry. I told them that they had no right to ask me for anything after how they had treated me and that if they were looking for someone to blame, they should look in the mirror. They didn't like that answer. My dad started yelling, saying that I was being selfish and that I had always been jealous of Mike. He said that this was my way of getting back at them for not making me the center of attention. At that point, I lost it. I told them to get off my property and never come back. My mom started crying, and my dad kept yelling, but I just went back inside and locked the door. They stood outside for a while, shouting that I was ruining the family, but eventually, they left. Now, I'm getting texts from Mike, telling me that I'm being unreasonable and that I should apologize to our parents. He said that I was blowing things out of proportion and that they were just stressed out because of the wedding. He even said that I was being immature for holding a grudge this long and that I needed to let it go for the sake of the family. But here's the thing, I'm done. I'm done being the one who always has to suck it up and put my feelings aside for the sake of Mike's happiness. They spent my entire life making everything about him, and I'm tired of it. I've been in therapy for the past year, and I've finally started to realize that I deserve better than the way they've treated me. I'm not going to apologize for telling the truth, and I'm not going to fix a situation that they created. So, Ida for refusing to apologize and fix things with my family after they abandoned me during the worst time of my life? Update 2. Thank you so much to everyone who commented on my original post. I wasn't expecting such an overwhelming response, but reading through the replies made me realize that I wasn't alone in how I felt. A lot of you pointed out that I needed to stand my ground, and that's exactly what I've decided to do. Since my post, I've continued to ignore my family's calls and texts. My cousin, the one who originally reached out to me, has been incredibly supportive, and she told me that most of the family has my back. Apparently, a lot of our relatives were appalled when they found out what had happened, and some of them have even confronted my parents about their behavior. Of course, my parents are still trying to play the victim, but it's not working as well as they'd hoped. As for Mike, he's still sending me messages trying to guilt-trip me into apologizing, but I'm not falling for it. I realize that he's just as much a part of the problem as my parents are, and I'm no longer willing to bend over backward to make him happy. If he wants to have a relationship with me, he's going to have to do a lot of work to earn my trust back. I'm feeling more at peace with my decision than I have in a long time. For the first time, I'm putting myself first, and it feels good. Update 3. Well, the baby shower happened last weekend, and guess what? Hardly anyone showed up. My cousin, who was invited, said it was pretty awkward. Only a handful of people came, and there was noticeable tension in the air. My parents and Mike tried to act like everything was fine, but it was clear they were embarrassed by the low turnout. They tried to make small talk and act like it didn't bother them, but I know they were fuming inside. Mike hasn't texted me since the baby shower, and I think he's finally starting to realize that I'm serious about not being a part of their lives anymore. As for my parents, they sent me another email, but it was more of the same, blaming me for ruining the baby shower and asking me to make things right. But I'm done. I'm not going to be their scapegoat anymore. I've come to terms with the fact that I'm better off without them, and I'm ready to move on with my life. Thank you again to everyone who supported me. Your words gave me the strength I needed to finally stand up for myself, and I'll always be grateful for that. I'm not sure what the future holds, but I know that whatever happens, I'm going to be okay. Final update, it's been a few weeks since the baby shower, and I've officially cut off contact with my parents and Mike. They've tried reaching out a few more times, but I've blocked them on everything. I've also spoken to a lawyer, just in case they try to take any legal action against me, which I doubt they will, but you never know with my family. I've been focusing on my recovery, both physically and mentally, and things are starting to look up. I'm still working through some of the trauma from the accident and how my family treated me, but I'm making progress. I've also reconnected with a few old friends who I hadn't seen in a while, and it's been really nice to have that support system. For anyone going through something similar, my advice is this: don't let anyone make you feel guilty for standing up for yourself. You deserve to be treated with respect and kindness, and if the people in your life can't do that, it's okay to walk away. Thanks again to everyone who commented and supported me. You have no idea how much it means. I found out through my cousin that my parents and Mike have finally stopped trying to reach out to me. Apparently, they've realized that I'm serious about cutting them off, and they've shifted their focus to trying to repair their image within the family. My cousin said that they've been hosting more family events and trying to smooth things over with our relatives, but a lot of people still aren't buying it. As for me, I'm doing well. I've made peace with the fact that I may never have a relationship with my parents and brother again, and I'm okay with that. I've come to terms with the fact that I deserve better, and I'm not going to settle for anything less than that. This will probably be my last update on the situation. I'm ready to close this chapter of my life and move on. Thank you again to everyone who supported me throughout this journey. Your kindness and encouragement helped me more than you'll ever know.